to Argentina?
I think first and foremost, I think it's a formidable squad. It's been a while to see a team that has been selected that is quote unquote strong. However, there are some little loopholes in the squad, like Kevin Stewart. We understand that he has a broken leg and he was selected in the squad. So that is something to look into. And but all in all, it's not a bad squad.
The gentleman called Russell, put back up the graphics for me. Not too many people know who he is. There's the Jonathan Russell, listed as a midfielder.
He plays for Huddersfield. He plays for Huddersfield. He's a very gritty sort of midfielder, and I think that is something that would have lacked throughout the last campaign. And I think he's one of those young players. He's about 21 years old, if my memory serves me well. And I think he will do well in a Jamaican team. Yeah. Because we have a very skillful, useful ball-playing midfielder, but he's one of those defensive midfielder, and he's also a box-to-box. So he can get on the score sheet and stuff like that, and he commands his area pretty well. So I think he's a good pickup. First time invitee to the national team.
Is there any player not on this list that you think should have been there?
That goes without saying. Our number one goalkeeper and captain, let me just go right into it. He is missing out of this team. Like they said, it is an historic game, and for the captain not to be in it speaks volume. I don't know how deep it goes, but I mean the captain should have been in this setup. I don't know the reason for his omission. However, he's not there. But I wouldn't have a Kemar Foster. No disrespect to the Waterhouse player. However, I would have Andre Blake any day over any of those three goalkeepers.
Yeah, I think most of us will agree that on merit, Andre Blake ought to be there. But we get the feeling, and the JFF may or may not be too happy with me saying that there's more to this than mere football. One would be led to the league. You know what I mean? There was a rather disturbing tweet coming from Andre Blake, about the competence or the lack thereof of the Jamaica Football Federation, and saying that something to the tune of we could change coaches all we like with the same federation, and we're likely to get the same results. Which, depending on who you talk to, either the man is expressing himself, which he has the right to do, and it shouldn't be held against him. That's one school of thought. The other school of thought is that he's a little out of order, and if the JFF chooses to not play him now, then that's well within their right. Which side of the coin are you on?
I'm not really on a side of the coin, but I can understand both sides of the story. Where some persons might be saying he as a captain he should not have been speaking like that to his boss or the persons that he works for. You know what I mean? And then there are persons are saying that he's well in his right because they would have had contractual agreements and the JFF quote unquote would have broken those contractual agreements. So you're going to victimize the player for speaking up when you are already breaking some of those contractual legal stuff that you'd have agreed upon with the players, like pay and so forth, stipend if you want to call it that. So it's kind of tricky. Then the story with what took place in Suriname, which also might be one of those sore points that would have cost him his space. There's also another look to it there, because Andre Blake normally, if you check his friendly stats, international friendlies, he doesn't have a lot. So one will argue that it could also be a case where Andre Blake did not want to get called up because he normally doesn't play a lot of friendly games. You know what I mean? So, but everybody looks to the fact that they're steering them down the face of that post that he made under a comment, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it might be bittersweet to some of the fans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Here's
I can't pick a side on it. Sorry.
you're still on the fence. But here's what. Not only Andre Blake is missing. Jonah Fleming has been part of the Jamaican squad now and has been a sure starter or at least a sure member of the squad for a while. He isn't there
In recent
times. And we also, is this the end of someone like a Taxi Lawrence as well, who was such a staple on the left-hand side of the fence? Albert Powell, who was such a staple on the right side. Is it the end of the era for these two, and are you surprised that Jonah Fleming is not a part of the squad?
I wouldn't say, let me start with Jonah Flemings. I wouldn't say I'm surprised about Jonah Flemings. He's having some concerns at his club Toulouse. So I do believe that even if he got an invitation, he possibly would want to, you know, stay there and work on his game to try to get in the first team. So with that said, I'm not really surprised where Jonah Flemings is concerned. Not even surprised where Alvas and the Taxi is concerned, because they would have missed the Nations League and quite a few games in the latter part of the campaign, the last campaign. So I'm not really surprised. It could be the end of them, depending on the direction of the new coach. You know what I mean? Will he be watching these players to see what they are doing? Because to be honest, Alvas was having a good little run in the MLS, to be honest. So I don't know. And then there's this issue with Taxi not playing well, if you ask me. So it might be. And these areas are two of the critical areas that I think any coach coming in will have to strengthen: the left back and the right back position.
All right, we'll take a break. We're coming back to you, and by then we'll be joined by another local football analyst who will, help us to put all this into perspective. We'll soon come back.